Absinthe. The word alone instills images and emotions into your mind. But are they appropriate? Absinthe was invented in the late 18th century and reached its heyday during the French Belle Epoque, inspiring writers such as Charles Baudelaire, Ernest Hemingway, and Oscar Wilde, and artists such as Toulouse-Lautrec, Vincent van Gogh, and Pablo Picasso. But these images and scenes of the bourgeois dandy sipping a peridot liquid after a long workday don't normally come to your mind, but rather dark scenes of an underground drug subculture are generated. Sugar cubes ablaze above a fluorescent green concoction, emulating freebasing cocaine. But this never would have happened in the late 19th century. So how did we get here? To understand, we must go back to the beginning. Absinthe is a strong aperitif, usually based off of a brandy, which is macerated and distilled with herbs such as wormwood, anise, lemon balm, hyssop. If it's colored, it goes through a natural coloration step, never artificial. Wormwood, or Artemisia absinthium, is where the drink gets its name. Absinthium coming from the Greek for bitter. It was invented in 1792 by a man named Pierre Ordinaire while he was traveling through Switzerland. It was originally designed as an elixir, and he later sold it to a man named Dubiet, who began producing it as a beverage. In the mid-19th century, absinthe was given to French soldiers fighting in Algeria because it was believed to be a prophylactic against dysentery. Soon, the soldiers returned, and they brought with them a taste for absinthe. Not for long, it was a bistro standard. Anybody could drink it by the late 19th century. It was a people's drink. The nobility, the bourgeoisie, proletariat, men, women, artists, writers. It even rivaled wine. This is incorrect. Someone messed up my slide presentation. Yeah, there's a whole portion missing, so I'll just keep going. It was not uncommon to see cafes filled with people in the afternoon sipping absinthe and enjoying life. But soon, the abuse of absinthe became apparent, and public concern arose. There was a campaign launched across Europe damning the drink for destroying society. They called it absinthism, and it was associated with seizures, epileptic fits, hallucinations. All these were based off of circumstantial evidence and not empirical science. This was partially backed by a wine industry that was fearful of this new drink of France that was cheaper and stronger than wine. This campaign finally culminated in a famous court case in Switzerland, in which one morning in 1905, a man named Jean Lanfray woke up, drank some absinthe, and proceeded to kill his entire family. The entire court proceedings focused only on the absinthe he drank that morning, and failed to mention that he also drank up to 5 liters of wine a day. There was a public outcry, and soon the dominoes began to fall, with bans in Belgium in 1905, Switzerland in 1910, the US in 1912, and France in 1915. These bans remained in effect until they were relaxed in 1988 in the European Union, and in 2007 in the United States. With mounting evidence that thujone, or the chemical in wormwood, is only really toxic in large enough doses. Also, thujone is shown to be non-narcotic and non-hallucinogenic. And it's just as prevalent in common sage. And I don't think the last time you had Italian, you tripped. So what was causing this? And the answer was very simple. And I did have a very clever slide that is no longer in existence that showed a bottle of Popov and a bottle of Grey Goose. And I was going to say, one of these is going to give you a bad time. And the same was true for absinthe. You had high-quality absinthes, you had low-quality absinthes. And the low-quality ones contain chemical impurities and even contain intentional adulterants, even methanol, to give it extra buzz. But that wasn't the bottom line. The bottom line was alcoholism. Absinthe is anywhere from 55 to 72% alcohol by volume. Much stronger than any other drink of the day. And pretty soon, there was no distinguishing between alcoholism and absinthism. The seizures and the delirious behavior was most likely due to delirium tremens seen in alcohol withdrawal. So, how did we get to this burning of the sugar cube that we've all seen in Moulin Rouge? Well, there's no evidence for this before the 1990s. We know the Czechs invented it because they knew about its tumultuous past and supposed hallucinatory effects, and they never banned it there. And so they wanted to exacerbate and make a profit off this faux drug history. I also had another clever slide that is no longer in existence of equating scope to Czech absinthe, but it's not here. Czech absinthes are usually not based off of any original formulas, are artificially colored and artificially flavored. And before long, oh look, before long, the drug and goth and whatnot cultures picked up on it, and the modern misconceptions of absinthe were born. But let me just tell you that if you were caught burning absinthe in the late 1890s or 60s, you would have been run out of the cafe. People often ask me, why am I so interested in absinthe? It actually goes back to when I was studying history of art at the University of Michigan, and specifically to this painting. This is Manet's The Absinthe Drinker. But to understand, we need to do an old-fashioned art historical comparison, so bear with me and don't fall asleep. On the right, we have a contemporary of Manet, Bouguereau. Now, the Salon in Paris in the 19th century was the largest art exhibition of Western art. And to have your art displayed there, you had to submit it to the Academy for approval. Certain things were considered to be acceptable, such as biblical references or classical mythology. Both of these were submitted to the Salon. Manet's in 1859, Bouguereau's in 1865. Both of them have similar subject matter. Both are people of the street. But Bouguereau finally executes his painting, places his figures within classical architecture, and gives them poses that instill some kind of nobility to them. The mother even almost looks like the Virgin Mary. This softened it for the audience and made it acceptable. Manet, he did a full-length portrait, which was normally reserved for the upper class. But what did he paint? A drunken bum. And did nothing to soften it. If you look, you can see his glass of absinthe, just like this one, next to him. You see a bottle overturned, indicating that he's finished. The shadow behind him is a lump. The legs are disembodied. This was flatly rejected by the Academy and was a slap in the face to them. But it was also on the path to Impressionism. And at the heart of Manet's social commentary was absinthe. When approached about his controversial subjects, Manet would simply respond, "I paint what I see." So you can see behind me, I've been slowly preparing an absinthe by one of the traditional methods of water being drizzled over a sugar cube into a measure of absinthe. It's 4 parts water to 1 part absinthe. As the water enters the absinthe, it goes from a translucent to an opaque. And this is called the louche. It's the releasing of the essential oils, and it changes its aroma, its texture, its flavor. And absinthe should never be chugged or taken as a shot, as I'm sure some of you have. But it should be appreciated as you would a fine wine. So the next time you have an absinthe, I want you to remember its true history and spread the word. As an adage from this 1890s poster reads, "C'est ma santé." It's good for you. In moderation. Cheers.